All right. Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 124. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black, and we are back, and we are playing with Power. Ryan, welcome back. It's another week. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. I am glad to be here, and we have a problem.
What's your problem?
I got it. I apologize, guys. I had one of the pages pulled up for the YouTube video live, and so it was playing what you said again.
Gotcha.
Oh, we are so new to this; it's bad.
Well,
We will get
so
professional, I swear.
how's your week been?
You know, it's been great. It's been very busy. I've been doing a lot of traveling. Suddenly, like, pet shipping became the biggest thing ever, and we've been driving all over the place. Alabama, I'm going to be going to Iowa, Chicago, Missouri, all in a short, like, week span. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh. I could not. I mean, I could if I had to, but that would suck. Really, I mean, I don't find that very fun. But especially because my work, it's just kind of spoiled me with. They fly me out if I have a business trip, so I'm just kind of used to okay, get somewhere in 2 hours, get home in 2 hours, or whatever. You know what I mean? So, still blows my mind that I can get to, I could get to Seattle in less than a day. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But well, Ryan, we're not alone today. Obviously, you got one of your roommates with you, Mr. Matt. Welcome back to the show. It's been quite a while since you've been on. How you doing, man?
Doing well. I think I was on for the Halloween episode with the creepy Pokedex entries.
Back then, man, I wasn't even living in this house at that episode. That's pretty crazy. It's amazing how time just flies, honestly. And before you know it, we'll be doing more Halloween episodes again soon. Like, I've already been brainstorming in my head, just like what would be some Halloween theme ones for those, So, well, no, glad to have you back on the show, and it's good times here today. So, well, guys, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and start Radical Rexing. So, this is what we have been Radical Rexing about. Matt, why don't you go first, man? What's got you excited as of late? What's something new in your life that you're just stoked to be doing or have?
I am starting to get into the iPhone repairing. I used to do that at my old job, and just getting back into it, kind of like a side hobby.
Okay. Nice. So you can repair like shattered screens or more internal work on it, or?
Right now, shattered screens, but getting more
Nice.
into the repairing the camera, the home button.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. That's a good person to know, Ryan, right there. If you ever break your phone, so good
Definitely,
to have.
man.
Ryan, what about you, man? What's got you excited as of late?
Let's see. Well, the topic for today, I won't go into that though. That's pretty my biggest Radical Rex, but I don't want to spoil it all for right here. So
no, save it. Yeah.
Other than that, I've been playing a Mega Man like clone. I think it's like I can't remember
Mighty
what it's
Number
called,
9.
like Galagon or something like that. Anyway, been playing that. It's been fun. Getting that feel for it. I'm going to be posting a review on the Nintendo Village here soon.
Sweet.
So definitely look forward to that. And other than that, man, I have not been doing a whole lot of gaming. I watched my sister-in-law yesterday beat Calamity Ganon, so that was pretty cool to see that and watch her do all that. So that's special. It's a special time, and I can't wait to see Breath of the Wild in a new light coming up here soon.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, interesting to share our thoughts and opinions on that. But me, what have I been recollecting about? Well, I honestly, it was kind of a down week. I mean, it was just kind of a lot of stress last week. I got sick, and when I got sick, I had to take work off the next day. And I guess I mean, while I was sick, I was kind of more of a recovery mode. I wasn't like puking all day long, so I was able to like actually I was really weak, but I was able to like game. Normally, if I'm like with the flu or have a bad fever, I don't even game. I can't even focus, but I could, and I played Starlink all day on last Tuesday because I was home. I literally gamed for like 6 hours straight. Just laid on the couch and I beat it. I beat everything it had to offer. All the Star Fox stuff, the main story, all the side quests, like the main quest stuff. I didn't like 100% every little detail because that game is very long on the tooth on stuff. So overall, I think that game, I think it had a great concept. I really loved how it felt and moved. I feel like there was too much of a fetch quest for stuff. Like, I'm all about collectathons. This wasn't a collectathon. This was like just busy work. Like, go do this. You have to like build up all these little bases on every single planet in the galaxy to build your alliance up before you can move on to like proceed to fight the bad guys. And it's just like, this is just busy work, man, because it wasn't fun. It got very just mind numbing and boring, and you had to do the same thing over and over again. And so there's a lot of downsides to it that I found. Overall, again, I thought the game looked beautiful. I thought the concept was great. I just think it was executed a little poorly. A lot of the same assets were reused too. Like you raid all these spaceships. There's like 7 or 8 spaceships you can raid of these thugs in space and steal their loot, whatnot. And when you do that, it's fun. It's fun the first couple times too. And then once you figure it out, every single ship is the same formula. You take out the big guns on the ships, and then on surrounding the ship, and then you take out the fighters in the sky. And every ship's designed the same way. So my pattern was the exact same for every ship, and it just got easy. And you would think that they would have made that a little bit more difficult. So, I enjoyed that overall, but there's some issues I had with it. But I liked it overall. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like don't buy this game. I would recommend it to people. If I had to rate it, give it like a 7 out of 10. There is a cool experience, especially if you know what you're doing. Then you could probably get through a little quicker. But hopefully they can make a real Star Fox game out of this and like build upon. I would love that. I know the DLC is coming, so I'm excited about that. That should be here within like maybe next week, because
wow,
next week I think is the final full week of April, because Easter is next Sunday. So not this coming week, but the week after I think is the final week. So we probably get the DLC, which I'll dive right back into it. Finish it out, which is cool for Star Fox. Other than that, I had a pretty crummy week. Besides that, because being sick just kind of threw everything off and just had me in low moods, So, yeah. But after I beat Starlink, I've moved on to trying to dive back into The World Ends With You. It should make you happy.
Yes.
I'm trying to recollect my mind. Like, where was I? I'm trying, trying to reach it because I was a little, it wasn't like just a chapter in. I was a couple chapters in. I was a little bit along, and so I'm trying to refresh my mind. How did I play this exactly? What am I trying to do? So it's been taking me a minute to just kind of refresh my mind with everything. But besides that, Becca and I, we got to play a lot of games this weekend. Surprisingly, that we didn't, I didn't anticipate, but we've been playing a lot of Yoshi, and we finally just beat the first boss today, and that was fun, and that's cool, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a cute game, and it's playing with somebody who's not a gamer is very frustrating because they can get in your way, and they blame you and think it's your fault when things get screwed up. And it's like, no, not really. If you would have done this wouldn't have happened, So, but we're hanging in there, having a fun time. I'm glad I can enjoy a game with my wife. So, and that Star Wars trailer dropped too, so that was pretty neat. Got me excited, Like I said, I'm not a mass. That's what I've always loved about Star Wars. I've said on the show before is that like it's a franchise that I'm not like a massive nerd about. Like I don't obsess over every little tiny detail. Like that doesn't bug me. But yeah. I mean, I want some stuff to be good and overall, but I can go to it and I don't have to like worry about like, oh, is this going to match up with what the comic book said or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I think with superheroes I am a little bit more stingy with the comic hero stuff. because I wanted to follow like what's supposed to happen and not be made up stuff. But that's how it is for me. But other than that, that's what I've been Radical Rexing about. It looks pretty great. What would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I just remembered something I'm Radical Rexing about. These brand new headphones that I have on right now. It's the Zelda A10s.
Oh, nice.
There
Yeah,
was a price error, and I was at Best Buy, I think. Anyway, I got it for $20.
Yeah, you nabbed it.
I've been eyeing them for like ever, and it was like,
How do they
$20, totally worth going for it. And
how does my sexy voice sound in your ears right now?
Sounds like Jacob. Anyway,
pretty
it was just in time too, because my Beat headphones, the little stress padding on the top started to come off. I need to re-glue that, but got these new ones to try out, and it's first time trying them on. I had them for a few days, but I didn't get a chance to put them on yet, and so I'm testing them out tonight.
Sweet. Very cool,
and you
man.
may be wondering, those who are watching, what I'm wearing. I went to a steampunk meetup before the show, so I am wearing one of my my blouses from that with the frills and everything. So.
Sure, that's not your wedding outfit.
It's his wedding outfit.
It's my wedding outfit. Yes.
Whoa, renewing the vows, were you or something? There you go. Cool, man. Well, I think we have a lot to talk about today because you got to experience some fun stuff this week. So, guys, we are going to. The topic at hand is all about Nintendo's attempts at VR. So,
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's right. Nintendo's VR. So, Ryan, you got Labo VR. I have not played it myself. I don't know if Matt has it. Maybe you have tested it out a little bit, Matt, but
he's made fun of me while watching me make a fool of myself.
I just want to, what we're going to do here first is we're going to just tell everybody Ryan's experience a little bit here, just like your first initial thoughts here. But then we're going to take a step back, because this show's all about nostalgia. And we're going to this is not the first attempt that Nintendo's made at going VR. And it probably won't be their last. And I don't know. People think PlayStation and Xbox were the first to go for it. I think they were the first to go for it and try to make it successful. But Nintendo tried way long ago and failed miserably at it, but it was an attempt at that, So we will dive into some Virtual Boy. But Ryan, go ahead and share with us what did you think?
So I wasn't the first one to experience it. I let my sister-in-law do that. We built it together. That's half of it. It's part of the Labo part of it. And I consider kind of VR as a separate entity from Labo, but Labo is the vehicle they chose to do it. And it's lightweight, it's comfortable. It's easy to apparently strap it to your face if you need to. There's some tutorial videos I just posted on Nostalgia Chat today about how to do that. And just go hands-free for when you want to experience some of the new stuff coming out. But it's really, really cool to experience VR for the first time. Now, this is my first foray into VR officially. We got this little cell phone one, but my glasses didn't fit in it, and it just wasn't working for me. So it was really cool to experience the motion tracking, to know that the system itself tracks motion without the Joy-Cons. Nobody really knew that before this. And it was kind of cool to see it move, kind of for those who owned a Wii U and played Nintendo Land. If you tilted the Wii U and stuff, it would kind of do a motion tracking. It's got that built into the Switch system itself, which is really cool. And you can use that when you first do it. They have you make your little Joy-Con holder thing. I think all the kits might start out with that little accessory. And from there, then it has you build the VR goggles. We were putting it together. We had it all together. We're all ready to go. And then we noticed there was a bunch of lint and dust on the inside that had collected. We're in an older, dusty house. So I had to go in there with a microfiber cloth, my Zelda one that I got for my collector's edition. So I wiped all that, and tried to do it again, and it worked. But and I got some more dust on it. So I feel like this is going to be a regular thing where I'm going to open it up and clean off the inside lenses. Luckily, it's just cardboard and it's easy to take apart. So I can just go in there and do that anytime, where if there's some dust getting into some of those expensive headsets, it may be hard to clean off the inside lens. So I'm really thankful that you can actually take it apart and not having to do any damage to it. It's definitely affordable. It's practical. It's Nintendo, very Nintendo.
So how long do you think it took to put everything together?
Oh gosh, I didn't time it. It was our first experience with Labo in a while, so I'd say probably, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. It
That's not
wasn't bad
bad.
at all. No,
No,
not too bad
as
at all.
opposed to the other Lapo stuff, which they were saying it would take like 5 to 10 hours or something like that. You know, like it could take a real long. Like I remember the backpack or the robot kit, like that took a long time for people on the piano and stuff. So
The first one we did everything slowly, very slowly. And then we
Yeah.
learned we could fast forward it. And so we did the elephant as well. We built the elephant, and
sweet.
that was pretty quickly too. It took us about an hour, maybe a little less than that, because we used the fast forward feature through everything and kind of looked ahead to see what needs to be popped out and what needs to be folded and stuff like that. We did a lot of the kind of fast work without it having to go through the video. So we got the elephant together. That's the one I was the most excited to try out because it lets you draw in 3D space. That was really cool to experience that. My sister-in-law played the marble game where you had to move the platforms to get the marble to drop through the hoop. So there's a lot of content in this. Now I hear that there's a video section. I wasn't able to find it right off, but you can watch a bunch of different videos and stuff. And Labo also supports, because of its functionality, you know, it is VR, so you can go on the YouTube app and watch any of the YouTube VR stuff, which is really cool. One thing I thought was interesting, when you set up your console, like the assembly, without the Joy-Cons attached, you can still do buttons. Like there's a little place on the top, you can tap the cardboard, and the system registers the double tap as a button press. So even like bumping it can make a button press. So you don't even necessarily have to have Joy-Cons to do it. And that was really cool. Your arms do get tired. I will say that did happen. So I'm definitely looking forward to the working on the like some kind of strap to attach it to my head. But it's really not that heavy at all. Like it's more like if you just held your hands without anything in them for a long time, they get tired.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to experience. The system doesn't add that much weight at all.
Cool. Well, good. That's interesting stuff. I'm excited to dive in a little bit more in depth about what you experienced with all that. Matt, did you say you did test it out at all, or you just watched
have not
Ryan?
had a chance to test it out yet.
You just watched Ryan. Yeah, that's fun. Make fun of him. I get you. I would have done the same thing. Well, let's dive back real quick. You know, like we said, this is not Nintendo's first attempt at virtual reality. Let's take a quick look to the past here. Ryan, when did the Virtual Boy originally come out?
That was on July 21st of 1995, according to the good internet that I referenced. It was it came out. I remember the commercial very vividly. It was kind of reminding me of like a dinosaur like chasing somebody. They didn't actually show the monster or whatever until the end, and it was a Virtual Boy.
It's kind of like the Predator. I thought
it very much Predator, and it like wrapped its cord around the guy and like attached itself to its face or whatever. Yeah, it was kind of cool. But I thought it was so cool. My friend John Hester had it, and I wanted to play it so much, and I got a bit of that same feeling here, where with the Labo VR, my sister-in-law was playing it first, and she was like, "Oh, there's a chicken, and there's a snake, and there's a spider," and like she kept saying these different things. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and that's kind of how I felt as a kid with my friend who owned the Virtual Boy, and I wanted to play it, and he's just spent like hours playing it, and I just sit there and watch. Like, man, I wish I could play that. So it's definitely a single-player experience, and I think that we'll get into it a little bit later, but I can see how Nintendo can take that and evolve it into something new with the Switch's capabilities. But yeah, it's really cool. I wonder if like people are wanting to get multiple Switches in households with Nintendo's kind of pushing for that. I wonder if they're going to want to go for multiple VR systems in a household. So it'll be kind of interesting to see.
It's possible. Who knows? Well, so with VR, the Virtual Boy, it was obviously a different approach to VR. Nintendo, I mean, quickly, if you don't know what a Virtual Boy is, which you might not actually, because it didn't sell very well. There are probably people who did not know what it was. But it basically was on a stand, and it had goggles similar to kind of what the cardboard thing I think looks like for the the Labo VR there, but you put your eyes in it, and it was black and red, and you just saw a black and red screen, and you were closed off of everything else, and it did a terrible job at selling because the biggest issues were people were getting, I think, migraines and headaches, and kind of made you sick,
lightheaded. Yep.
You couldn't, and again, you're like, you couldn't even really, unless you maybe aligned it to be like head level or something. I mean, you could be hunched over, and that could really cramp you up if you're in that for a long time, you know. So like, I understand the idea was cool. I could see it, but it did not take off. And I wonder if it would have taken off, would Nintendo have continued to pursue the route of the traditional home market console? You know what I mean? Like, would they have like, because the Virtual Boy, I guess it could have been portable, but it's not the same as like taking your Game Boy out.
There was some adverts saying the Virtual Boy was supposed to be portable, but the battery pack that was in the controller didn't have a good tight connection.
Yeah,
and it would always just come right out.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I got the AC adapter for mine, so I had to get that one right away. I was going through
yours still works, right?
No, one of the video outputs is messed up. I think actually both of them are fried now, so I have to get a whole new I had to replace all the insides pretty much.
I remember my only experience with it is I remember playing it at your place, and I believe it was a Super Bowl party, and it was before people actually started showing up. Got there pretty early, because we hung out like that all the time. And I was sitting on your bed, and you let me just play it, and I think you had Wario, correct?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's what I was playing. I'm like 95% positive that's what I was playing. I was testing out Wario for the Virtual Boy, and just messing around with it, So other than that, I don't really remember too much detail, but it always reminded me of this cheap video game thing. I don't even know who made this, but my brothers used to have this like head strap, and it had like, it was a head strap, and it came out, and it played like a little screen, and it would like, the image was red and white, just like or red and black, like the Virtual Boy. And you had this little glass eyepiece that you could see, and it would shine down on that. And that's how you played your game. You watched that eyepiece and you played it that way. We had Batman, whatever the heck that thing was. I don't know.
Remember what the thing was called. They had two different versions, but yeah, the like, little eyepiece is really cool. That was around the same era, really. I cannot think of what it was.
Probably trying to build off of what Nintendo was trying to do, and they both flopped. I mean, I don't remember. That thing didn't go anywhere, and it was difficult to play and focus on, to be honest. But I do remember my brothers having it, and me testing it out from time to time. But
I want to say it was from the Tiger Electronics people that did it. Maybe.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I do. That's what I wanted to say. It was like a toy maker. So
yeah, I think that's what that was. One thing with the Virtual Boy, I think the Virtual Boy might have done a little better with a better sound chip to it. I mean, it played basically what amounted to like Game Boy sounds, maybe a little bit better than that, but it didn't have that like stereo sound or anything like that. It definitely kept it to the boy, like it was a Game Boy or a Virtual Boy.
Yeah,
I think that was something that might have made the difference. There, it had a better sound to it, like a stereo sound or something, and it gave it more of an in-depth feel with the music and stuff. That might have been, because it's hard to go back and listen to some of those songs, but then there's some others that are just like awesome hits, but they're Game Boy like style, but they're really good, like Jack Bros. I would love to own that game someday. That's a dream of mine, because oh my goodness, that's so cool.
I'm surprised Nintendo never re-released these games for the 3DS, honestly. It was a missed opportunity big time, simply because we could
see it again though with VR. I think it's possible.
Oh yeah, they could definitely redeem themselves with that for sure. That because the games, they weren't just like a Game Boy, it wasn't like just a regular 2D game though. Like they tried to add depth to this, and like it was in many ways it was their first attempt at what the 3DS became, because like Wario, for example, like you could go in the background of that game and you could come even forward in that game. Like there were 3 planes of visuals that you could get out of that game, and
Yeah.
it was unique, and it was honestly kind of ahead of its time, and that's why that game was like, it's really praised, and people would love to see it remade because it's trapped on the Virtual Boy, and it was actually a good game.
Yep. It wasn't
Shout
much different
out Martin
from
there.
its. I mean, it has another version out there. I can't remember which Wario it was, but it's very similar in plot and everything. So you can kind of get the basic experience. But the Virtual Boy game, I think, was probably the best Wario game of that time, I would say.
Yeah.
Now Kyle will probably correct me and say something else is better.
No,
but
I'm sure he would love that.
that's a parallel that I drew with Labo VR and the Virtual Boy, was the depth. I was really surprised being able to see the 3D effect, just like looking into the 3DS screen, but all around me. I thought that was like, oh, this is really cool. It's like putting the 3D goggles on and seeing something in 3D, but it's just the depth was really cool to feel that. When you're in the Labo game, you can look up and look down. You can see what looks like kind of like stars, but they're like designs in the sky. And I kind of watched that for a while. Like I was looking up at the sky and staring at the stars, just like, oh, this is so cool. Like I like the depth that you can feel like you're in a space and you're seeing something in a space. Now, Matt, I think you've had some experience with the Virtual Boy. Care to share?
A couple of years ago, when I first moved down to move in with Ryan, I played with his Virtual Boy. It was about an hour and a half, just trying all the games that he had. You know, from Wario to the fighting robots. That one was my favorite.
That's so good.
That actually gave you a feel of, you know, virtual reality instead of like a, you know, 3D game where you're throwing these punches and punches are coming at you.
It felt like Arms, but imagine Arms in VR, if you will, and that's what this felt like. Yeah. Like having those punches fly at you and they come into the depth. Like I want to experience Arms like that because it'll be a throwback to Tellero Boxer. I don't know. I always call it Tellero Boxer. I don't know the correct pronunciation, but so sue me.
Yeah. Fun fact, did you know that Metroid was on the Virtual Boy, right?
Yes, and I've never played it. I want to own that game and play it because I hear that
you know what game it was?
Galactic Pinball.
That's right.
Yep, I know. I heard. Was it your conversation or whatever? Talk about it. I think
conversation. there was a Donkey Kong Country version for the Virtual Boy that they were putting in the game, and they had started prototypes of it, but it never went anywhere because the thing failed so fast, you know. So, but they were going to put Donkey Kong on it, Donkey Kong Country stuff.
I would have liked that. There's so many things I'd love to see, like new games come out to Virtual Boy. That is, I think, what I want to see Nintendo do most is to make new games for the Virtual Boy system because it did flop, but it'll be something that you can experience through like NES Online, like Virtual Boy Online or whatever, what have you, like a service like that.
Can you replicate that with and somehow get rid of what the headaches gave you by looking, or is looking at a red and black screen like that just the curse of migraines and crap like that?
There's a lot more technology with the VR has evolved quite a bit. You can get a little queasy, a little motion sickness. It's different for different people. But the focusing of the time and the things that the Virtual Boy did has come a long way and developed and become something different now. So I think even like experiencing that, you won't get those motion sickness headaches and things like that because it's just a different build now. It's a lot more advanced in technology. So I think that we could experience it again. You know, they've shown no indication that they're going to do that, you know, a Virtual Boy, Virtual Console, or have that experience. I don't see it happening, but I think it could happen, and I would be extremely excited to experience that, both old games and new.
So, well, okay. So obviously, the Virtual Boy didn't do well, and I think Nintendo was really scared to even really do much VR stuff, and because they even kind of brushed under the rug and never mentioned it. It wasn't really, honestly, until Reggie and his, this was his last week, and but at Nintendo, and but the video, you know, at our music episode, that in the funny video you chose for your song, he was playing Virtual Boy in that, you know, and I think that's one of the very first and few times Nintendo's even referenced the Virtual Boy, you know, like where they
Mhm.
weren't afraid to say, yeah, we did make this thing, even though it did terrible, you know, we did make it. But I think there is a lot of potential with Labo VR. Hopefully that it can mix in with this and they can take from the past and remake it, because it would be really cool if they could make those style games like you said that they were trying to do for the Virtual Boy and just recreate them for Labo VR. What if we
Yeah.
played that Wario game the way it was, but in the VR set with Labo, and they can make whole games like that, immersive games. Interesting, so interesting about like the direction of what we could potentially get. Not, you know, maybe there's an option for every game now moving forward. Like, you know, hypothetically, say we get a new 2D side scroller Metroid game in like 2 years. Okay, what if they developed it to where it had that VR 3D ish effect feel, or you could play it just like a regular 2D platformer, and you don't have to use the VR. You know what I mean?
You know, like I said, with the depth, I could very much see them doing 3DS games on this. With the depth that you see, you'll see that 3D depth with the virtual reality idea. Like it actually gives you that 3D feeling, just like a 3DS would, only it's your
Yeah.
full field of vision. So that makes me think that they could do like 3DS games on the Switch. So those games that were ported or something that were on a 3DS or something, they could
Yeah.
have that and just easily like pop it right into the Switch and do it that way. There's a lot of potential for this, and it's all hinges upon how well this is supported now,
Yeah.
how well VR does. A lot of people are trying it out, and right now it's very gimmicky. When the DS came out, it was very gimmicky, but it's also at a price point like $40, $80 if you want to get the bigger pack. Like it's at a price point that people will buy it. And I think that if it does well and they do more than just, you know, little mini games with the Labo, like they're doing like a little bit testing the waters with Mario Odyssey before they go full blown development on something, and then giving a feature in Breath of the Wild, like these are what are teased. Now, if those do well, they're kind of dipping their toe in the water, testing the temperature and seeing what people think.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, it's, you know, they learn from their mistakes and they don't want to, you know, recreate that. So they're just like, does this work? You know, how does everyone feel
Right.
with this before they go full blown VR?
Now, you had an experience recently with non-Nintendo VR. Go ahead and share that experience, and then what you could see that put in through a Nintendo lens, if you think if that could translate over. There's just some games that you've played in VR
Yeah.
you'd like to see on this Labo VR if you had like a head strap to attach it to your head or something.
So I was at a friend's who wanted to introduce me to his VR headset and played games like Beat Saber. That was an amazing experience because when I had the headset on, he's loading the game up and I'm in like this waiting room. It gave me Danger Room, X-Men vibes. It's just pure white. You see like a window and the game loads around you. So you're like looking around in this full environment, and I was just fully immersed. It's like I am actually here.
Right. Do you think Labo is there, or do you think the technology's too bare bones right now with just it being cardboard? Because I had Traven at Christmas time. I went to his place, and he has the PlayStation VR headset and all that stuff. And I played a dinosaur game, and I was in this whole dinosaur world, and you had the remotes, and they were your hands, and like it was this immersive world that I'm in. You know, it was very different. Whereas I feel like with the cardboard effect, it's not quite that in depth. Again, I haven't played it yet, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like even with this Zelda and Mario experiences, it's not like we're actually in those worlds, is it?
What do you mean by in those worlds?
Well,
like
what Matt just
first
said, like
person
with,
or
Yeah, like like we were literally in. You could look around, and I could see 360 degrees all around me, this entire world. Whereas I don't feel like in Labo VR, is that the case with the Labo VR, or is it a little different than that?
I think the number one factor in limiting right now is the graphical capability of the Switch.
Uh-huh.
Everything is a little fuzzy when you're watching because I mean it's splitting 720
Okay.
like screen to
Yeah.
two separate bubbles, so you get a lot less of the resolution. So it's a little blurry. You get adjusted to it just like you're watching a CRTV and playing your old games. Your eyes get
Okay,
adjusted
sure.
to it and you get used to it. But first you'll notice it's a little fuzzy, and that's something that, like the next iteration of the Switch with better graphical power and that bumps it up. I think that would be a better immersion experience. One thing that you want to do is do the headphones. Make sure that there are headphones that you're plugged in, so what you're hearing is what you're experiencing. So you're immersed with the audio as well as the visual. But and have some kind of strap. I think with them testing the waters now, they may consider if Labo does really well with the VR, they may consider doing a VR, Switch Pro system, and then have like a regular like mini one. But it's kind of curious to see what they're going to do with this information they're getting, testing out with Labo. I mean, Labo seems to be pretty popular. I mean, it doesn't cost very much to make. It's
Right.
cardboard. So, and they're selling it at a decent price. Like they're selling the software pretty much. People are
Right.
complaining about, well, I'm paying $80 for cardboard. Well, you're paying $80 for the game, the development time it took, the designer who created all these crazy contraptions you put together.
Yeah.
And then also you're getting that in the VR's case, you get the plastic VR goggles with it. So I think it's really worth it. Like at a price point of 40, just getting the goggles themselves, plus the game that you get. The game gives you the option of, hey, what kit did you get? Did you get the $40 one? Did you get the $80 one? And you can choose which kit you get, and you can add on more stuff later. And so it's very flexible. And if it does really well, I could see that evolving into a full VR experience, and we can enjoy it through Nintendo's lens. They're fun primarily.
Right. Yeah.
Like
ahead.
not only getting a game, but you're also getting that experience of building these contraptions. Like you're with my sister. Yeah, that's just bonding. You're bonding with, family, friends, and just building these, Labo contraptions for your game.
There's a bit of pride behind building your own thing and then experiencing it.
Sure.
Even with it being a single player experience with VR, being able to hand it off to your sister-in-law, your friend, and have them try it and you two build it together, you feel a sense of accomplishment. And that gives it even more like power to it to make you feel proud of what you have, what you've made. There's a lot of power behind that. And that's why I could see, like, if there's some way you could interface the two, you could link up with another Switch wirelessly, and you both can play in the VR space with your own Switches, with their own VR headsets. I think it could happen. I think you could actually play like what was first-person shooters. You have 4 people in a room. All 4 of you are strapped into the VR, and you're going around working together co-op, doing missions and stuff, like whether it's military or blasting aliens.
Right.
It'd be really cool, especially through a Nintendo lens. And I think it's just as the Switch gets more powerful, or whatever Nintendo has for the future, I think that we could really see this 3D space and this virtual reality become a thing. I'm really excited for the future. Now, Nintendo could just pull we made this peripheral and we had it supported for just a couple games and then we abandoned it. Like they do that all the time. So I hope they don't do that, but they could. But Labo has lasted 4 kits and a special, robot kit too. On top of that. So you've got 5 sets there to work with. And I think that Labo is showing some success. I could see this going further down the line. But I think Labo was a great choice with the cardboard. It's so affordable. It's so simple. And if you destroy it, you step on it, you order another one, and it doesn't cost that much to get the cardboard. That's the best part.
It's I'm glad you brought all that up because that leads me, to where I wanted to lead this discussion. What do we want to see Nintendo do? And they have many great franchises that they make that, you can think about that it would be really fun. For example, I always think of Luigi's Mansion. I think it'd be really cool if you could build your own.
Man.
your own backpack to suck up ghosts, and you can get that feeling of what it feels like with the Joy-Cons as Luigi when he's sucking up a ghost, and what it feels like in your backpack. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if they'd even go so far as to where, like, you know how you have 2 Joy-Cons right now, to where if they wanted to heighten the experience to where they require, like, maybe you could have 4 Joy-Cons and all 4 act like, you know, imagine that backpack, you know, like shaking all the way down, and like you slide 4 different Joy-Cons in different departments to give it a full all-around feel. It could really add to that, you know, while you have your Switch on your head and you're seeing like Luigi, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Like, I wonder if they would go so far as to make an entire video game like Luigi's Mansion. Say Luigi's Mansion 4, you know, was like all VR. Or if they make a separate Luigi's Mansion VR where it's not as grand of an adventure, to where it's quite as long, because maybe it's more to develop for something like that. I don't know. I would love to see stuff like that. And I agree with you. I think Labo is, I think it's all a test, especially the VR stuff. I think it's all a test to gain interest, for them to learn themselves as developers, and to see where it goes. And then I think you're right, down the road, when we have more powerful hardware that they have released, where it's gotten to the point where Nintendo can feels comfortable investing in that, then we very well may get our own separate VR design tablet, separate from their home console. Who knows? It could be the home console. I'm just throwing stuff out there right now.
Yeah.
But what's one franchise for each of you that you would love to see Nintendo do?
Like in a VR, like first person shooter style, would love Splatoon.
Oh yeah. That would be very interesting. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I think I'd get very sick. As crazy as I go with the brush, you know, like swinging like mad, like actually doing that in real life would just look ridiculous.
My question is, how would it feel to go down in the ink as a squid and move through the ink? That would be interesting.
That would be cool to see, like ink vision, like seeing what they see through that. That would
be cool. Kind of like do like underwater. You're looking up, seeing like the battlefield. It's like, oh, it's okay to pop out. Then
right. You know. So interesting. Ryan, what would you like to throw in there? What would you like to see in VR?
I mean, besides the obvious Metroid Prime, but
yeah, Metroid Prime is totally something I would love to do.
And I mentioned ARMS because I like the Tellura Boxer, that feel, like the boxing feel.
That would be cool.
That would lend itself really well to the VR experience. But kind of like off the beaten path, really, when you go with like immersion and feeling that game and being there, and combine it with horror and Nintendo's IP that is horror, which is Eternal Darkness, that really screws with your mind, like deleting your save files and seeing things that aren't actually there, but experiencing that in VR. I will wet myself, but I will love every minute of it.
We need to get a Five Nights at Freddy's in VR. How about that?
I think that is actually a thing.
Yeah, there's something is in the works for VR. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Can you imagine?
But
that would be terrifying.
When I was at my friend's, I did a SCP, a first person survival horror, and he was just laughing because I'm trying to hold the flashlight out, and I'm just like,
Yeah, really scared.
Can you imagine just being like actually in a horror like experience with that in-depth immersion with VR? Jacob, I know it exists.
I would not want to do it.
Resident Evil, and people say like it's intense.
Oh my gosh, no way! I'm not doing that crap. I don't even.
I would want to experience that. I wouldn't mind like experiencing that through like a Resident Evil 4. I know the game. I know what's going to happen, so I'm gonna watch it from my perspective now, and that would be cool. Like seeing the chainsaw guy coming at me.
Nope.
Yeah.
No regenerators. Nope.
Yeah, he saws your head off, and all of a sudden you're looking like on the floor through the eyes of the cut off head. That would.
Let me say, I'm not a horror person per se.
Sounds like it. Oh,
but I want to experience that in VR, because that's an experience that would be like firsthand. Like going to haunted houses and stuff. I'm like, yeah, this stuff's kind of silly, and it's people in costumes. but I really get into video games, and so to actually
Sure.
experience that at least once would be really great for me.
I think maybe the next step that Nintendo could do, like, just create a playground for VR to where like they take us back to old worlds. Like, imagine if we could run through Peach's Castle from Mario 64, but it was in a first-person VR feeling. Like, we're not like playing the whole game, but like it's experience, playground to screw around in, or maybe you did get a few levels from there. Like, what if we could go explore that haunted mansion and booze and from Mario 64?
Mhm.
It would be crazy, man. It would be really cool. And again, like Metroid, a level from Metroid. Maybe you're exploring that spaceship from the intro of Metroid Prime, something like that. I will say one game that I think comes to mind that I think would be awesome to bring back. And I think that's our Nintendo Land. I think Nintendo Land was a perfectly good developed game that, like, I could see that whole game being in VR. Like, the way they try to incorporate the gamepad for it and stuff, the way you saw things. Try doing that back in VR and bringing it back for that experience. That would be really cool.
I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I would absolutely like to see Link's crossbow training ported to a VR experience. I know a lot of people didn't like it, with the gimmick. You had to buy the controller piece, and then, it was a Wii Zapper, I think is what they called it. And you got the Link's crossbow training free with that. But having a vision of virtual reality in a Zelda game, whether it is Nintendo Land, whether it is Link's crossbow training, it would be kind of cool to see that. Even if it was a Wind Waker style, I think I would like it. I don't know how I'd feel like a VR Mario experience, like you said. It could be good. To go and explore the castle would be cool. Like a Google Street View, like they had for the Wii U. The Wii U's Google Street View, where you can go in and go to different locations and explore things, and you could kind of move around and see those areas. So yes, porting that, like exploring Mushroom Kingdom, exploring Talon 4, like in the different areas, and exploring those empty environments, but like going to those places and kind of living those places, not necessarily playing in those spaces, though you could. It's just like, but I think that they actually make a game out of it more than just like empty exploring. Like, what would be Mario Kart? You'd want to drive off the track and go somewhere and look at Peach's Castle in VR. That's the Easter eggs, the special things, like to actually explore like a jungle in Donkey Kong and like walk around and go visit Donkey Kong's house, climb the ladder, go into his house and collect a balloon. And
like, I think cool. You're so right. Like, Nintendo's worlds themselves, like, we've all fantasized what it would be like to live there, like what would it be like to be on DK Island or to be in Hyrule. Oh my gosh, it would be just so cool to just, like, maybe there are little tasks you do on like DK's Island. You got to find this banana, this, I don't know, little tasks to do. But like, you're so right. I think the true gem would be like, I'm really in this world that I've always dreamt about as a kid. And I love that. Like, that alone would sell me VR. Like, that is so cool. And I'm sure it takes a lot of technology and ways to develop it, but man, the ideas of the potential that we have is really enticing.
What would be really cool? If they took the VR experience and did like they do Mario Odyssey with the 2D effect, where you still have that 3D depth, but you're going into 2D plane. But like do like Paper Mario. So every time Paper Mario would go flat, you could go in like a 3D world and run around. But also when you go flat, you see it from a different perspective. Now, I'm not saying like not only seeing a line, because like if you saw in 2D, they've kind of painted the picture like you just see like a line, you wouldn't see any definition. But some kind of like different view that you can switch to in VR when you go like paper thin to go between objects and see other things. It'd be kind of cool to have that translated in the VR space and experience that. That I could see working with a Mario game, would be a Paper Mario style.
Interesting. The potential is endless. I think it really is, if you can develop it right. And, Nintendo's wise. They wait and they see and they test. I'm sure they've been testing VR stuff for a long time, and like they are probably the most patient company that might exist, because they will not release it until it is good and ready, you know, and
They
don't want
paved
to
the
screw
way.
up.
They
Yeah.
paved the way with the Wiimote and that tracking experience in the Wiimote Plus.
Mhm.
And then the Joy-Cons now with its tracking, like they paved the way for VR to go into that space with more depth. And so they've got the technology. I mean, they pretty much brought it to the world of gaming. So to see Nintendo take it into their hands and fully flesh it out, if it's successful, would be stunning. I would love to see them do that.
I'd love it too. I would love it too. Well, Matt, any final thoughts on VR, where you want to see it go? And then Ryan, we can do our due diligence and head out for this week.
Kind of want to see it go almost in the way of like how they describe Ready Player One.
Oh
Of
yeah, okay.
Just that immersion. You can often like feel what's going on.
Huh.
Yeah.
Should we pay a bunch of money to like live in a virtual world too?
That reminds me, like the immersion, like feeling other senses, like you got your ears, you got your scent, like with smells. Like Nintendo has already dipped their feet into that with the foot pedal that comes with Labo VR.
Mhm.
You every time you press it to jump, it's a paddle that hits that fans win onto you, so it feels like you're actually jumping. So it stimulates that feeling if you're actually jumping. So Nintendo's already experimenting with that extra effect, extra immersion, and it's really cool to see them in their hands.
So here's a quick question, real quick. We talked last week about Mii's and what was the future of Mii's look like, and what if they made like just a social game, kind of like The Sims, whatever. Would they approach using Mii's as that, and you could be Mii's in reality, or would you want a more of a I don't know, humanoid realistic game instead of Mii's, where you can make your avatar look like you, but it's not like this detached limb nub creature? You know what I'm saying? I think Nintendo would probably go the route of a Mii, just being Nintendo, to try to make it as family friendly as possible. But you never know. They may very well. Unfortunately, they'd probably make Animal Crossing VR. That's what it would be, and you'd walk around animals.
That wouldn't be bad.
With my luck.
I wouldn't want just one thing. I'd want a bunch of things, like a hyper realistic, a cartoony feel. But again, this is all backed behind a stronger, powerful screen and system. So with this rumors of the Switch Pro and the better Switch system, they're all rumors. But I mean, the Switch is going to get better from here, and we're going to see better screens, better battery life down the road, whether it's Switch or Nintendo's next thing. But to see,
I have the Power Glove. Bring it back.
I don't want to see completely dedicated VR, but VR on the side, or VR equal with, like, maybe that's their next platform. There's a VR Nintendo that takes place of the 3DS, and then there's the regular Nintendo gaming. It's both portable. Both are portable.
Yeah.
Both are home console experience as well. So that's something versatile with the VR Labo. You can actually take out the VR completely and just play it in the peripherals on the screen without the glasses. So
it's insane. They had it in that movie. It made me think about this, but like, they could. What if they develop some kind of like glove or outfit that when you wear it, then it's like designed to like have the pulse and feels of like. So if I was thinking, like, what, if you're in an Animal Crossing world and you want to touch Tom Nook on the shoulder, you can grab his shoulder and you can feel that. Like if you have this, because like a remote, I'm not going to feel that. But if I had like a uniquely designed, developed glove, which I'm sure this is like way expensive technology, is what I'm talking about right now. But like if I actually could feel him and feel his fur, and it replicated what I was experiencing and touching, I could see VR going that way. That would be immersive. I don't think that's anywhere close right now in time, but
when I was playing Beat Saber, I was just messing around and like clashing them together, and I actually like could feel like, oh, there's something here.
Yeah. So it's like the ideas are there. It's just the technology is not yet.
Just a
You know,
few years behind, I think.
I think Nintendo could do it really well and immersive in ways that other companies haven't done it. Just
Yeah.
with the wind pedal and that like jumping feeling of wind, like that's part of it. Nintendo can
Yep.
do so much more with that. They can add on like expansion packs to the VR,
right?
and give those extra things. So
It's funny. You just watch in 20 years, like our
yes.
kids are gonna laugh at like, oh, you made a kickstand and blew wind in your face, and that was your VR. You know, like they're just gonna crack up at what
They're
they
immersing
have.
it all the time, like augmented reality and virtual reality. All that
Yeah.
stuff's all one, and it's all implanted in the eye. And so,
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. 20
You have
years
to
from now,
use
you
your
can watch.
hands? That's like a
Yeah.
baby's toy.
and we'll be nostalgic the whole way through, and we'll still be
Oh
running.
yes. Yep, we will do an episode being nostalgic about this 20 years then. You're so right. So, well, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and do our due diligence here for us, and we can round out this episode.
Sure thing, man. You can find us at our home on nintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia, on Apple Podcasts and Google Play if you listen to the podcast. Those release on Thursday. You can also find us on our Facebook, facebook.com/Nintendo NOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. Shoot us an email at nintendonostalgiain@gmail.com. You can find us on our YouTube channel. We record live on Sundays. And also you can find our Instagram account at Nintendo NOSIN. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode this week. We hope you enjoyed this VR session, and we will see you next week. Later.
Peace out.